8 psychological tricks to increase conversion rates for SaaS startups. Now, the part that caught me was for SaaS startups. Why would that be different? In my brain, that's how it works. And so here's some of what they went through. All right, 8 psychological tricks. Get rid of distractions to reduce the trouble of making up your mind. Duh, right? Use easy types. Now, this one I found interesting. When you're entering information, when you want information, Marketo, for instance, says it increased their conversion rate by 30% from going from 9 fields to input to only 5 fields. Now, I thought that was interesting, actually. And then ImageScape increases conversion rate by 120% by going from 11 fields to 4 fields. So I thought that was interesting. That was kind of worth the click, if you know what I mean. But the rest, like supply fewer decisions, limit, concentrate on pricing, a psychology of pricing, use decoy pricing, 3 options, and then just push one higher, anchor pricing, use higher wording on your promotions. I saw that when I just kind of negated it. And then this last one, improve portions somewhat, then cut back the value. I don't know if you read that, but in the event, here's an example they gave. In the event you supply 50% more extra, a product says you get 50% more, or versus, hey, it's 33% of the cost. The supply, they said, the supply is the same. The majority of people actually based on this says your prospects will really feel like they're getting a better deal by having 50% extra merchandise. Now, I thought that was interesting, right? If you say 50% more versus 33% lower cost, that will work. But in the end, my question to you, Will, do these psychological tricks really work?
Yes, but this is a terrible article and isn't doing this scientifically. So on salesman.org, I think it's still on there, to sign up for our webinar and some of the training that we provide over there, you have to put in both your name and email address. So conversion rates, I'm butchering the numbers slightly here, but the point will be, I'll show the point with them. The conversion rates went from, say, 15% on the page to 10% by requesting your name and email address. But open rates on every email that follows as we give you free training and content, and then at some point kind of sell you on the training product, doubled, literally went from 10 to 20+% by having, I think we touched on this last week, having your name in the subject line. And clearly you can't get the person's name without asking for it up front. Or there are ways to do it, but you're getting more complicated than what I'm willing to put into it at that point to do our marketing. So a lot of this stuff is almost irrelevant because all that matters is number of people that land on the page, also cost of acquiring those people on the page, and end conversion rate of products sold. So that's why some of these numbers can be useful, but can also be meaningless. You've got to look at, and this is more, I guess, interesting for marketers as opposed to salespeople specifically, but you've got to look at the whole life cycle of that customer journey before they get to an end conversion point to make any real judgments on this. And this is why it's a skill and a real science, and it's very difficult to do. But yeah, if you think you can triple your revenue by giving the buyer less decisions on a purchase page, it's there's more to it than that.
Yeah, there is. I like what you said. There's a subtlety in what you said that once people enter their email, your open rate goes up. And that makes sense, right? The rule of consistency, according to Dr. Cialdini, right? The rule of consistency is that, it's a small commitment. And because they made that small commitment, there's a little buy-in. So I buy that totally from a psychological standpoint. Want to emphasize, switching topics just a little bit, there's a book coming out called Business Made Simple. It's by a gentleman by the name of Donald Miller. Now, I want to highlight Donald Miller. I've not interviewed him. I've not talked to him, but I've consumed his information. I get his his weekly newsletter. And it's really, like highly concentrated snippets of information, and he's finally taken the next step in actually writing a book. And so I want to highlight this for people because there's a lot of cheesy stuff. I guess that's a good word for today, right? A lot of cheesy stuff out there. And his stuff I really like because, some of it is obvious, but again, it depends on, how much you know. So anyway, his book comes out January 19th. Again, the title is Business Made Simple, 60 Days to Master Leadership, Sales, Marketing, Execution, and more on paperback. January 19th, Donald Miller. Check him out. Also check out his website. Like I said, his free content is very good. Like I said, I don't like to hate. When I see good content, I'm like, that's good content. So I want to high five that guy.
Perfect. I interviewed Suja Patel, who is the co-founder over at Mailshake the other day, and we've got a big email list at salesman.org, and I just don't email it ever. It's a total, it cost a ton of money to put together, and I've just totally failed the email list. And he was suggesting that we should do more like weekly breakdowns of all the content, or if we had more staff, we could potentially even do daily breakdowns because there's so much stuff being published. And so I can't remember there's a Morning Brew is a business newsletter, and the whole business is based on. Are you familiar with it, Victor?
I'm not.
Okay, so the whole business is based around a email newsletter. So it's essentially a magazine that you get in your inbox each day. And rather than having a blog and a website like a Forbes or Business Insider, the only real way you can get access to all of the content is by subscribing with your email address, clearly for free, and then clicking the links within the email itself. And the email's massive. You could get a summary of today's business news by just subscribing there. Now,
That's interesting.
I subscribed for a few days and I had to get rid of it because there's just too much stuff hitting my inbox every day, and I didn't have the mental energy or kind of just time to go through it. But it's a cool business model, and it's something that I wanted to explore a little bit further. So with that said, at Morning Brew, for everyone who's listening, find it at morningbrew.com. Are there any other newsletters other than is it Donald's there that you subscribe to, Victor? And is there any standout ones that do provide value to a B2B sales audience that the audience should subscribe to as well?
The Gartner and the Forrester newsletters are pretty good. The updates. There's also a guy named, I forgot his name already. He does a lot of AI stuff. It's Bernard something. Wrote a lot of books on artificial intelligence. And he really looks at it from a business application standpoint. And I knew I was going to forget his name. It caught me off
Bernard
guard.
Marr.
Yeah, that's him. Thank you very much. That's a great newsletter if you want some updates on AI. He covers the gamut, the spectrum of everything, not just it's the medical industry, it's this industry, the legal industry, and his content is pretty solid. I've read a couple of his books, solid books, excellent books, and he has a huge following.